Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a button simulator. If you guys do like these type of videos, you like tutorials on how to script and code stuff for Roblox, please let me know in the comments, like the video if you would like to support the channel, and also subscribe. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers. With that being said, let's jump straight into the video. Usually we would start the video with starting on a base plate, but in this video we are starting with a button. So this button was made by Orange. His links will be in the description. Go check him out. It's just a couple of meshes that you can see that were made in Blender. You can use a button that you made on Blender, on Roblox Studio, or in the toolbox. I don't suggest the toolbox because there could be viruses on them. Just make sure you check through your stuff before you do anything. Now, the first main important key to a button simulator is having a easy script and a flexible script with some nice GUI and aspects. In this episode, we are just going to be working on the button working and then getting everything else set up later, such as the UI and stuff like that. So in the main thing here, to start off this series, you're going to head to Workspace, click on add new, and then click on a folder. We're going to call this folder buttons. Inside this button, we're going to make a new folder. Now, every folder you have, you want to call it something that's going to be equivalent to what this button is going to be for. So if this one is for money, then you will add it to money. So then we're just going to put inside here another folder, and we're going to call this button 1. Then throw your button model in here, and I'm gonna change this to main. It doesn't matter, just make sure it doesn't just follow the queue of button, stuff like that. You guys just wanted to make it where it's easier, because your button should really be this is the button. This red piece right here is the part we are going to be using to figure out whether or not it is the button is touched. So after we have our button in here, you're going to go to the folder inside of button 1 and make a new folder called config. In this config, you're going to add 2 number values. One number value is going to be multi, like this, or you can do multi to add, actually. That way it's more specific of what you are doing. And then the other number value is going to be price. So essentially, we are going to set the price for it. So the price will be how much it is going to cost you. So it's going to cost 5, and then it's going to add 0.1. Now, I do want to let you know, when you add 0.1s to stuff, it will start to get a little bit more hectic. So until part 2 comes out, I would recommend sticking to 0.5 or numbers that can quickly cancel each other out. So if you have 0.1s, but then you have an uneven amount of them, obviously there's going to be a lot of points. But if you have a 0.5, you are guaranteed to get to a whole number eventually. With this being said, mine is at 0.5 and my price is 5. So this is our buttons folder done. If you wanted to add any more buttons, simply you just duplicate it. Make sure you are selecting a new button folder, because if you click on this button, you see that it just copies the main part, but doesn't actually make a new button. So then you make sure you are duplicating the button folder itself, and then drag it. That's why you can name this button 3. So I'm just going to be using one button, but I'll show you how to add more buttons in the further upcoming episodes. Inside of server script service, we're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this manager. Actually, call it button manager. That way you guys know exactly where to find your button managers at. And here we're going to make a new script. We're going to call this money manager. So we are going to manage the money buttons. And obviously we can't script this if we don't have a Leaderstats. So we need to make a Leaderstats. This is going to be a data store. That way your stuff does save. And to do that, once you have your data store thing open, we're going to clear this, and we are going to head straight into the top, and we are going to call this data store. So we are making some variables for our data store. So the first one is going to be local data store service equals game colon get service data store service. This we have to call the data store service just so we are able to save our data, and then that way we don't lose any of our data when people leave and rejoin. Next, we are going to do data store. Then we are going to connect this to the data store service, get data store, and then inside of here you can call this whatever you want. This is just the name for it. So if you change the name, like if you have yours as test, then you put a 2 at the end, it will change the data. It will reset all the data. So I'm just going to call this tutorial because that's what it is. Then we are going to actually start with a function to save the player's data. We're going to do local function save data. Then inside of here, we're going to call a player. Now, obviously, we don't have any of our leader stats set up, so we will come back to this in a second, and we are going to set up our leader stats. So to do this, we're going to make a new local function, and we're going to call this one create leader stats. And we're going to connect this to the player as well. Then it's kind of simple. You're just going to make a leader stats script. So local leader stats equals instance.new folder leader stats dot name equals leader stats, and leader stats dot parents equals player. Now you could put the parent set to this like this. That way it sets the parent automatically for you. For this, just so it is more it's easier to understand, we're going to put the parent here, but if you did want to just clear up another line and get rid of this 13 line, you could just put a comma and type in player. Now we're going to make our money. So we're going to do local money equals instance.new, and then we're going to also make a number value. The reason why we use number values, I use number values instead of int values, is that they do the same thing, just number values are more, they have more numbers you can add up to them. They can go up to non-nillion, which is a number, so 1 with 30 zeros behind it. Then from here we're going to do money dot name equals money. You can also do cash, but money is the easier one to do just because it is. Let's copy this. Then you can do money dot value equals 0. And then you are going to do money.parent equals leader stats. So this is going to make a new instance and make a number value. So if you go and play test your game, it won't work because we haven't set up any of our data yet. But if you had this as a normal script, if there was no data store, it would work, and it would show that you have 0 money because there's no data and you haven't earned any money. With that, we're going to head down and we are going to go one below. Under here, we're going to do local function load data. And we're going to have this to the player as well. So we need to load their data before we can save the data, because if we can't save their data, then we can't load. So what we're going to do is we're going to do local success data equals pcall data store dot get async. Make sure you spell this correctly. If you don't spell this correctly, then it is going to mess up. Comma data store comma player dot user ID. The capital D, there should be no capital D, so make sure it is capital I lowercase d like this. Then if success and data, then we're going to save their data. So we're going to do player dot leader stats dot money dot value equals data dot money or 0. So if the player's money value, we're going to equal it to the player's data. If there is no data for this, then we are going to equal it to 0. Then we're going to type else, and we're going to say print failed to load players data. Oh, I can't spell. So if we cannot successfully load the data, then we are going to print that we can't load the data. Now, one of the last functions, we got to make a local function, and it's going to be player added. So obviously we have to call the function above that we are loading the leader stats. So it's going to be player added, and then in these parentheses, we're going to make player. I don't think it's in parentheses, but I'm going to assume it is. So we're going to do create leader stats. So we're going to instantly just call that we are making a leader stats, and we're going to load the data. So it creates the leader stats, then it loads the data. If we don't make the leader stats before we load the data, then we can't load the data. Then we're going to do, which is very important. Actually, you want to go back up here real quick, and you're going to make a new leader stats. We're going to do local multi equals instance.new number value multi.name equals multi, and multi.value equals 1. So the reason why we set it to 1, you could also set it to 0.5 if you want to, but the reason why we set it to 1 is that if you put it to 0, no matter what you do, it's not going to work. It's going to try to add, we're going to make it add money over time, but if you have it just set to 0, it's going to multiply 1 by 0, so we don't want to do that. So if we multiply it by 1, it's going to be 1. And we are going to add to this over time. So then we're going to do multi.parent equals player. And the reason why we put it to the player instead of the leader stats is because if we put it to the leader stats, then it will show up in the top right of the screen, which we do not want to happen. So we're going to go down here, and we are going to type while true do wait 1. So we make 1 second. Then we do player.leader stats dot money dot value plus equals, so it's going to equal it to itself, then it's going to add to it 1 times, or the star symbol, player dot multi dot value. And then we also need to save the multi. So we can copy this, get rid of the leader stats, and we can change it to multi. Multi.value equals data.multi. So just like this, and make sure you equal this to 1. If you don't equal this to 1, then it is going to screw everything else up. So after we have this set up, this is going to add your money over time. Now we need to just make sure that if the player leaves, we also can save their stuff. So local function player removing, we're going to do the same. Most of the things you are going to just put player inside no matter what. Then we are just going to do save data for this, and then we are going to do local function game closing. So if you force the game to close, then you so like if you shut the game down, then you're going to need to do it. So for in pairs, AI did for us, but you're gonna do for underscore comma player in pairs games get players do save data player. So we are going to make the player. Make sure this is empty, by the way. You do not want to put player like we have put in everything else. You're just going to just leave this one blank because we have to make a new function for the player. After this, we are going to just connect the events. So what we're going to do is we're going to do game.players.player added connect, then we're going to connect it to player added. Then we're going to do this for everything else. So game.players.player removing connect player removing like this. Make sure you get rid of these symbols. Just make sure it's just like this. Then the last one is going to be game dot bind to close, so colon bind to close, game closing. With this being said, now we have to go back up to the top and we have to make our save data. So this one is going to be a table. We need to make a table so we can save all of our data. So local data to save equals money equals player dot leaderstats dot money dot value, then put a comma. Make sure there's a comma after this. If you do not have a comma, then it is going to mess everything else up. Then you're going to do multi equals player dot multi dot value. So if there's not a comma, right, say this is your only value you're gonna have. If you had like wood, reverse, whatever other values you have, make sure there's a comma. But if it is your last data, then make sure there's not a comma. That way it does not continue and crash your script. Under that, we are going to make a new thing. We're going to do local success, comma, error message equals pcall data store dot set async, comma, data store, comma, player dot user id, comma, data to save. Then we are going to just check real quick if it is successful or if it's not. So if it's successful, we are going to print data has been saved. Else, print data could not save. So if you go in game, quickly let me just save this. So we're just going to save this. Make sure you go to your game settings before you test and turn on API services or else your game will not work, and then make sure you save it to Roblox. If you jump into game now, attempt to index a nil value for player.userid. I just realized that we have some things I skipped, so just copy this player right here and then make sure you go inside of the parentheses and put in player for all of these, because I forgot to. I'm gonna make sure that these are all the ones. Yep, okay. And if you click play now, it's going to say that it could not load because that's just the basic thing, but if you exit out of it, it says data has been saved, and if you load back in, now your data was loaded in. So since we have the data sort now functioning and working, we are going to start working on this button. So first thing we're going to do is go into the button itself, and we are going to make a new build board GUI. This GUI, it's all up to you on how you make it. I have a pre-made one I'm going to throw in. Shout out to Orange again for helping design it. So I will throw this into here, but you're just going to kind of, you're going to make a type. I would recommend, if you do want to obviously expand this game into something else, I recommend you would do make a all that. So inside this button, every billboard GUI should look something like this. The type of it would be whether or not it's cash, money, or whatever, how much it costs, and how much you get from it. So we need to set this up. So I'm going to make mine cost 5 and give you 0.5 as a multiplier. Then we are going to just leave that, and then there you go. Match this to your config as you already have set up, and then we are going to work straight onto our button manager. So this button manager was originally made by me, but Orange did help out a little bit of making it a lot better. So we're going to make a local, which is going to be local buttons game workspace dot buttons. So we're going to grab the buttons folder located right here in the workspace. Then we're going to do a local function. We're going to call this to set up button, and it's going to be button comma index. In here we're going to do local touching. We're setting up a button whether or not the touching is true or not. So if you are touching the button, then it will constantly give you a multiplier. Local touching equals false because they're currently not touching the button. And then we're going to do local button config equals button.config. Local button price equals button config dot price. Then local button multi equals button config dot multi to add. Make sure it is spelled the same way as in your config. So mine's spelled like this. If you're not sure if it's spelled correctly, you can kind of just copy the name and paste it in here. So mine is spelled correct. Then you could do button dot main dot button dot touched colon connect function hit, and then make sure you get rid of this. And then in here we are going to set up our parameters, or how to tell whether or not the button is hit. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a new we are going to make the local touching actually set to true. So we're going to do touching equals true. That way that we can run it and make sure that it is obviously still touching. So if player, local player, my bad, equals game colon get service. We're gonna get the player service, and then we're gonna get player from character, and then we're gonna type in hit dot parent. Now we're gonna do if player. So we just want to make sure that we can get the player. If we don't get the player, then we're not gonna run the script. We're gonna do repeat, and then we're gonna type if player dot leaderstats dot cache. So what we're doing here is we are making it actually change. So we're actually adding the values of this being changed. So if the player dot leaderstats dot cache, dot the money dot value is greater than or equal to button price dot value, then we are want to do player dot leaderstats. Just want to copy this line, you can put it here. So player dot leaderstats dot money value dot value minus equal button price dot value. So we are going to minus and equal it to the value minus the button value. And we are also going to add the multiplier. So we're going to do player, and I'm just going to go to my data store real quick, and it is called multi. So make sure this is spelled correctly. Player dot multi dot value plus equals to the button multi dot value. So we are setting it up and everything like this, but we need to make sure that it will eventually not stop. So we're going to do until not touching. Then we are going to go past this. So it should be at line 21 that you are going out of this whole function, and we are starting a new line of code, and we're going to do button dot main dot button dot touch ended. Then we're going to do colon connect function hit, and we are going to do the exact same. So we are just going to copy this line of players right here, put it here, and we're going to do if player, then touching equals false. Then we have all of our code set up, but we need to make sure that the buttons are grabbable so we can grab all of our buttons. So we are going to go down here, and we're going to make line 31. We're going to do for I equals 1, which is the first button you have, to the maximum buttons you have. So since I only have 1, we're going to do for I equals 1, for 1 equals 1, do local button like this equals buttons dot money, and then we are going to do button dot I. So if you put it to button 1, then that's just going to grab the button. What we're doing is we're going to grab the name based off the button and then the number, which is why we have that number there. Then we can do setup button comma I, like so. So this will set up your whole button script. And then now if you go ahead and play test it, you will see that you should see that your button should be working. So we have 20. We can come over here and we can step on this button. Ooh. So what happened here was obviously a script timeout exhausted the execution time, which means it is going to spend as much money and there's no wait. So what that means is we are going to go back into our money manager. Just give this a second to take us back into studio. I don't know how long this could take, so if it takes a little bit, I'm just going to cut over to when we get into studio. Alrighty, and so what happened is that the script basically timed out. So we need to add some weights to this. So it's going to repeat. So that's the problem right here. If we don't repeat, and we don't put a task.wait here, then it is going to permanently keep going and going and going. So the maximum amount of time we are going to force before they can purchase again is 0.5, which is 1 second, or is half a second. So if we go here now, you can see that I'm getting more money. But if I hover on this now, your money goes down and goes down more and more and more. And that way we'll gain more money than just the default price. Now, we're going to set up a quick GUI. This GUI is not hard to make. We're just going to show the multiplier. So we're just going to type in, this is just going to be a test GUI, because of the test GUI is, it should just be a test just to see how much multiplier you have. I'm not going to make it too fancy. I'm not going to make it look too good. It's just going to be a basic UI. And the text will be nil. And then inside here, we're going to make a local script. We're going to do local player equals game players local player. If player, then player colon wait for child Leaderstats colon wait for child money. I'm just going to make this a local money equals this, then local GUI, or sorry, text GUI equals player wait for child player GUI wait for child test GUI wait for child text label. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do while true do task.wait 0.1. Then we're going to do text GUI dot text equals money dot value. So sorry, no, we want to make this our multiplier. I'm so sorry. So instead of leader stats, we can actually get rid of the money, and we are just going to type in multi, and then we can just leave this. I mean, I'm going to change it to multi just so it's more, so it makes more sense for me when we are coding. So you can see at the bottom, ours is 8, but if we spend more, it goes up, and we gain this amount per second. At the top right, you can see. If you can see, if you can't, it's because of the test mode I have on for the GUI, but it goes up, and you can stand here for basically forever, because at a certain amount you start making enough money where you don't have to stay on this button anymore, and you should start staying on the next button, and then the next button, and so on and so forth. So if you would like to see the second version or part 2 to the series, let's try to reach 30 likes on the video. If we hit 30 likes, I will release a part 2, and yeah, I'll release a part 2. If you have any suggestions or something we should add or something you would like to see in the series, head to the Discord. The Discord is in the description. Let me know inside of the Discord, and then yeah, from there, that is where everything goes down. I just did a 1,000 Robux giveaway. Yeah, we just did a 1,000 Robux giveaway. So if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. This is your time to join. We're doing giveaways throughout this whole summer, and we possibly may be doing a big giveaway if we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So once again, thank you all for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.